Pillars of Eternity 1 Ultimate Edition Guide, Companion Aloth build. This wizard build was made to work on Pot of the Damned difficulty, and if it works on the hardest difficulty, it will work on all other difficulties as well. Let's not waste time, let's go. To say a few words about wizards and what is Aloth. Aloth is a self-buffer, not team buffer, self-buffer, huge AoE damage dealer, great single target damage dealer, and great at crowd control spells. That's what you cover as Aloth, as a wizard, as he has a lot of great spells and all of them are very useful. Now let's level up Aloth. On the first level, or better to say on level 2, we're gonna put 1 point into survival, and now we're maxing out mechanics every single level. You want Aloth with mechanics, you want Aloth to be able to unlock stuff and to find traps. Only and only if your main character, okay, your main watcher, is focused on mechanics, then you can max out lore on Aloth. In all other cases, you need to max out mechanics. That's how important it is, probably the most important thing in a game. For the first spell, pick Chill Fog, because it's absolutely the best spell in a game. From level 1 to level 16, this is one of the best things that you can do early on in a game. For the talent, because we took Chill Fog, and this is the most important thing that exists, and it would be the very first level, better to say level 2, where we're gonna take Secrets of Rime and merge it with a Chill Fog, where Chill Fog becomes extremely OP from the start of the game, or better to say, the same moment when you find Aloth. On level 3, we're sticking with mechanics. If your main has mechanics, I'll just say it again, then you go and max out lore. That's about it. We just stick with mechanics in this case. For level 2 spells that you're gonna learn, it's pretty simple. It's Bewildering Spectacle for some crowd control and confusing enemies. It's that important, especially when you open up with confusing on level 3. And we're gonna take a good opener spell, that would be the Rolling Flame. It can reach on the entire map, you can reposition, you can apply buffs, trigger combat from far away. It's very, very good. Not good in combat, only good to start the combat with a Rolling Flame. On level 4, we stick with mechanics. For the next spell, if you wanna play as aggressive Aloth, you're gonna take Merciless Gaze, where you're gonna open up combat with Merciless Gaze, so you have better chance for crits. Or if you want your entire team to benefit, I believe that Miasma is definitely the best option here because of huge debuffs on enemies, so in this case we're taking Miasma. Now, as far as the talent goes, we go into utility and we're gonna take Scion of Flame for the Rolling Boulder to deal even more, and later on we're gonna learn Fireball and a lot of other fire spells, so Scion of Flame is the way to go. After Freeze, now we got Fire. On level 5, we stick with mechanics, and now for the level 3 spell, what we're gonna take here is Expose Vulnerabilities. It's the best freaking thing that exists on Aloth early game. There is no better thing. The entire team benefits out of Exposed Vulnerabilities on enemies. This is how you're gonna kill most of the enemies, by the way. So first, you're gonna self-buff, then you're gonna cast Exposed Vulnerabilities, and then you're gonna start dealing damage with spells with Aloth. With Exposed Vulnerabilities, we got two options now. It would be Fireball or Mignoletta Bounding Missiles. This has better value, and then we're gonna take Fireball on the next level. So we're taking Mignoletta's Bounding Missiles and Expose Vulnerabilities. On level 6, we stick with Mechanics, and now we're gonna take Fireball. So now we got Exposed Vulnerabilities, Mignoletta's Minor Missiles, or those that bouncing missiles, and Fireball. For talent, we're taking Blast. Very simple. When you run out of spells, you want to deal range damage with your Wand or with your Scepter. So that's why we're taking Blast. On level 7, we can't go with mechanics. We're gonna wait for level 8. We say next, and for the spells, tier 4, the absolutely best spell in the game, mid-game, is Confusion. After Confusion, we're taking Minulettas Concussive Missiles for single target, huge single target damage. For level 8 now, we're taking Mechanics. We say next. And for our next spell, we're gonna learn Mora's Writing Tentacles. This is a summon. It summons 3 tentacles that gonna attack enemies. This is also a great boss killer. Why? After you expose vulnerabilities, confuse enemies, after you cast debuffs, lower enemy stats and so on, you wanna cast tentacles and then go into damage dealing spells, because tentacles will deal damage over time, non-stop for 15 seconds. This is a very good spell on Aloth. For the talent, we're taking Penetrating Blast, upgrade for the previous talent on a Blast, so now Blast will hurt even more. On level 9, we're sticking with Mechanics. And for tier 5, this is where things start to get really good for Aloth. We take Cultist Slumber, where we can make huge pile of enemies unconscious at the same time, or better to say they're sitting ducks when you make them unconscious. And we're gonna take Torrent of Flame. When everything goes wrong, you send Aloth in the middle of enemies and you whack Torrent of Flame. Aloth will probably get knocked out along the way, but he'll deal tremendous amount of damage with a Torrent of Flame. So these 2 spells, Cultist Slumber and Torrent of Flame, is what we're gonna take on Aloth next. Now it's very simple for the spell mastery, because Aloth from now on will receive spell masteries. We're gonna master Chill Fog. Chill Fog is gonna be nuts. I'll explain how it works later on. For level 10, we're keeping the points. We say next, and now we get to pick another tier 5 spell. What we're gonna learn now would be Archimir's Wondrous Torment, because it's extra debuffs, a huge debuff, okay, -10 to resolve, intellect and perception. Enemies will be easier to kill. It's one of the best debuffs in the game. Now for the talent, we're slowly preparing for Chain Lightning, and that's why we're gonna take Heart of Storm, because on the next level we're gonna take Chain Lightning. On level 11 we go with Mechanics, and now the very first spell that we're gonna learn on tier 6 would be Chain Lightning, because we prepared for it. Yeah. After Chain of Lightning, there is the best spell on tier 6, and it's called Gaze of Adragan, where we can make enemies petrified in a huge area of effect. This is one of the best crowd control spells in the game. Gaze of Adragan is a must. For the spell mastery, we're gonna learn Miasma. Why? Very simple, free usage of a debuff. It takes no slots. It's very good. On level 12, we're keeping the points and we say next. And for the tier 6 now, we got plenty of options that are very valid. The best value by far is Paralyze on Archimir's Capricious Hex. Also very good one to have is a Death Ring, but I would say go with Capricious Hex here. It's that good. For the talent, now is the time to learn Arcane Veil and get the spell that gives plus 50 to deflection to Aloth. When he's in danger, you just whack Arcane Veil and he becomes a lot tankier on physical attacks. On level 13, we're taking Mechanics. And now for tier 7, the best one by far is Tain's Chaotic Orb. This is probably the most important spell in a game and the best spell in a game that you can learn on Aloth, or better to say, as a wizard. I would put Tain's Chaotic Orb as top tier, probably the best one that exists in the game. What we get out of Tain's Chaotic Orb? We get damage and crowd control that bounces from enemy to enemy at the same time. You can make enemies stunned, petrified, paralyzed. The spell is just nuts. It wins fights. For the second spell, we're gonna learn Delayed Fireball. Delayed Fireball is for the experienced players. It takes positioning, planning, and I'll explain how it works later on. For the spell mastery, we take Expose Vulnerabilities for the free spell slot. It's absolutely amazing to have a great debuff, Expose Vulnerabilities. The entire team benefits out of Exposed Vulnerabilities, okay? And this is the spell mastery that we're gonna take. On level 14, we're keeping the points for the level 15, and for the tier 7 spell, now it's time to learn Wall of Draining, additional crowd control. For the talents, we're gonna upgrade Veil with a Hardened Veil for extra deflection. Now on level 15 we're taking Mechanics, and for the tier 8, or better to say the last tier, we're taking the best spell that exists on tier 8, and that would be Wall of Many Colors, Great Opener, huge amount of debuffs on enemies that pass through a wall. For our second spell, we're gonna take some defense for Aloth with Superior Elemental Bulwark. If enemies are tougher, if they cast a lot of spells, this is what's gonna keep Aloth safe. Elemental Bulwark. It's that good. For the spell mastery, we got two options. The first option is Free Confusion, and the second option is Mignoleta's Concussive Missiles. I would say go for single target damage with Mignoleta's Concussive Missiles for the mastery here, because now you got way too many spells with crowd control and you don't need mastery on confusion. For the final level, level 16, we got 11 points left, mechanics are maxed out. What we want now is to go all points into lore, 1 point into athletics, and we're done with the skills. And for the final skill, what we're gonna learn here is, of course, Freezing Rake. Tremendous amount of damage, huge AoE, freeze damage, great spell. This is the last one we're gonna take. For the last talent that we're gonna learn on Aloth would be defensive talent, Body Control, so we have extra chance to defend against the most annoying thing in a game, that would be Paralyze and Petrify. And that's how we finish Aloth's leveling. Itemization now. What we're gonna start is from the Grimoire, the most important thing on Aloth. When you see these pluses, that's how you learn spells. Once you learn the spell, it's going to appear over here on the left side of the screen. And that's very important, because all of the Grimoires that you find in the game, you will need to keep them so you can learn all the spells that exist on Aloth. Okay? Do not sell Grimoires. Especially when you want to respec, you need to relearn those spells again. So never ever sell Grimoires. It's very important to have them all that exists in a game. These are all the Grimoires that you can find in the game, by the way. Just remember to learn those spells on Aloth whenever you find a new Grimoire. The more spells you learn, the stronger Aloth gets, the bigger spell variety you have. Now, as far as Aloth Grimoire goes, how do we play Aloth? What spells do we need? This is how you're supposed to play Aloth. On tier 1, you need to have Chill Fog, Fan of Flames, Slicken is absolutely nuts against most of the enemies. You can knock them down. It's a tier 1 spell with plenty of usages, great crowd control. Do not underestimate Slicken. That's how good it is. So combo of Chill Fog and Slicken is absolutely great. And single target damage with Mignoleta's Minor Missiles. On tier 2, Rolling Flame is a great opener spell. Web is a great crowd control spell to have. Merciless Gaze is where you get your crits with Aloth. When Aloth crits, he hurts a lot. And Concelhat's Draining Missiles is one of the best single target damage dealing spells in the game. You can acquire it later on when you deal with Concelhat and take his Grimoire. On tier 3, same how I said for Rolling Flame is a great opener, also the great opener after Rolling Flame when you kite enemies back would be Crackling Bolt, because it covers the entire screen. Of course, Bread and Butter Expose Vulnerabilities is a must-have with some AoE from the classic Fireball and some Bounding Missiles for additional AoE damage and one of the best damage dealing spells in the game. On tier 4, Confusion, absolutely great. You can dominate fights with Confusion. When you make enemies confused and dominated, they attack their own. That's how good it is, yeah. Then, Writhing Tentacles, Boss Killer spell. Okay, extra summons, 15 seconds of tentacles smacking the enemies. And Shadow Flame, or better to say Black Fireball, that causes Paralyze. So do not underestimate this freezing fireball because of the paralyze and huge amount of damage. Later on, it's like one, I would say, top 5 most important spells on a wizard. After that, we're gonna learn Ninjagod's Death Ray. Death Ray is great, constant damage over time. For tier 5, of course, it's Slumber. There is nothing better than Slumber. And we're gonna take Wall of Force, we're gonna take Torrent of Flame for huge AoE explosion around Aloth, and Archimere, Wounded Restorement for extra debuffs. On tier 6 we're taking Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is pretty much the same thing as Mignoletta, it only attacks reflex while Mignoletta attacks flat deflection. So when enemies have higher deflection, you're gonna attack with Chain Lightning. When they got higher reflex as the main defense, you're gonna attack with Mignoletta's Bounding Missiles. Now that applies for every spell, and you should care what are the best defenses of enemies when you hover on them and what you're gonna attack, whether you're gonna attack deflection, fortitude, reflex, or will. Pay attention to enemy stats. After Chain Lightning, we're taking the best spell here that exists in a game. It would be Gaze of Adragan. It works against bosses, it works against dragons, it works against freaking everything that exists, and it is one of the best spells on Aloth. So Gaze of Adragan, you're gonna find yourself using it a lot. And for the next one, we're gonna summon a blunt weapon with Lengrat's Blunt Wisdom. And of course, we're gonna take Death Ring for the final tier 6 spell. Huge AoE damage around Aloth, corrode damage around Aloth, that's gonna attack fortitude. For tier 7, we're gonna use, of course, Stain's Chaotic Orb as the absolutely best spell that exists on a wizard, or better to say in this case on Aloth. That's how great it is. You're gonna spam this spell in every harder fight. Delayed Fireball and how it works. You need to plan ahead with Delayed Fireball. Now why I say it? So when you cast a Delayed Fireball, it takes time for it to tick, 3, 4, 5 seconds, it doesn't matter. So what you're gonna do is ramp up Chill Fog. If enemies, for example, are here, where there stands, you're gonna ramp up Chill Fog with Aloth, because now we have it under Mastery. Okay, we're gonna stack it up, stack it up, stack it up like 5-6 times or so. Okay, then we're gonna cast the Delayed Fireball, then we're gonna retreat, and before Fireball explodes, okay, we're gonna ramp up everything with a Rolling Flame. So you see what happens? Full combo. But Rolling Flame triggers enemies, they enter the Chill Fog, get slowed, and then Fireball explodes. Great opener with Aloth. You can also spice everything up with Duran's Holy Fire. When you cast Delayed Fireball, you cast Holy Fire at the same time. It takes time for the Durans to channel Holy Fire, so that's a lot of AoE damage on one spot. Huge amount of AoE damage on one spot. One of the many tricks of how you can open up fights. After Delayed Fireball, we get the best crowd control spell in a game that can make enemies prone. It's Console Hut's Crushing Doom. Great single target crowd control damage dealing spell. And after that, we're taking Lengrat's Siphoning Image for some extra defenses. For tier 8, of course, Freezing Rake, tons of damage, wall of many colors, OP, crowd control, covers the entire screen, very good opener. Okay, like I told you here, when you cast Chill Fog into Delayed Fireball, into Rolling Flame, you can whack a wall here, get behind with all of the allies. Enemies need to pass through all of that crowd control and damage and so on until they reach you. They're gonna be nuked down hard. Of course, Elemental Bulwark. You wanna cast Elemental Bulwark every time when you open up a fight against a bigger boss, because this is gonna provide tremendous amount of defenses on Aloth. And the last one would be Lengrat's Dread Haze, Health and Endurance, concealed on enemies. They won't know when to heal. Truth to be told, it's garbage spell, but that's what you get, and this is how your Grimoire should look like at the end of the game. Now, what about itemization on Aloth? For the helmet, everything that provides intellect or might, you should equip that. For rings, it's pretty much simple. You want reflex, fortitude, will. For defense, yes. For the other ring, I was using Lord's Authority, Get Beam Family Signet. Why? Because when you cast Lord's Authority as a self buff with all of that might and resolve, Aloth will hurt like crazy with spells. You get a lot of damage buffs on spells. For the bracers, classic plus 10% to spell damage is the best that you can equip on Aloth. And for the cape, the absolutely best cape on Aloth, until you find it, of course, it would be Master Mystic, because it gives him invisibility when he gets crit. Okay, so that's a lot of defenses on Aloth, as well as extra deflection. For the belt, we're gonna make him a bit tankier with extra constitution so he cannot get one-shotted. And for the boots, Vietros formal footwear, one of the best boots in the game, belongs to Aloth here, flat stats increase. Great boots until you find these would be some that give move speed, or Shot in Fate that's gonna give consecrated ground, extra healing when you get hit on Aloth. All of those boots are great to have on him until you get this one. Valid armors on Aloth. You always wanna have medium or light armor on Aloth. And his armor, Aloth's leather armor, is absolutely the best thing. You don't need to switch it. He comes with this armor, you just need to enchant armor and you're good to go. But if you really want to switch, these 4 armors, Elrin Jacket, Husk of the Great Western Stag, Starlit Garb, and Randall Finery are armors that you can consider equipping. Okay, pick what you like, and all of them are good basically. I like the one with the Eye Strike, Elrin Jacket, because it really provides something unique compared to other unique armors. Now, as far as weapon goes, rods and scepters, the best one to have by far is Gerd's Heaviness Stance, okay, Soulbound Scepter on Aloth. And until you find a Soulbound, you wanna play with wands or scepters, okay, unique wands and scepters. One of the best ones would be Med Principe. Aside from that, we got Pridi's Rib, we got Rod of Pale Shades, we got Hazel, we got Kurok's Brand, we got Elavain Ain, we got the Lady's Hand, we got a Pikejaw Rod, and we got the Grudge Keeper. Which one is the best? These 3 are the ones that you can consider until you get the Soulbound Scepter. So, Rod of Pale Shades, Hazel, and the Lady's Hand. Why? The first one will give you chance to stun. The second one will give additional accuracy to allies that attack the same target. Now your choice what you want to go with. And the third one will give you grazes that are converted to hits. You're gonna hit more often with the third one. What I recommend out of these 3 best ones, I definitely recommend attacks can stun on crits, and this would be the winner out of unique rods for Aloth. But of course, the best one is the only Soulbound Scepter that exists in the game. And it would be Gerd, Heaviness, Stannis, Stains, whatever with these names, but this is the best one. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.